What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of the Rock Fantasy Files, one that I wish we didn't have to fucking do, to be quite honest. Um, just last night, when I got out of band practice, my phone was blowing up with notifications that the one and only Ace Frehley had passed away. So tonight we are going to talk about him because I think it's going to be cathartic for all four of us to do that. And yeah, we're just going to have a basic discussion about Ace Frehley, what he meant to us, how we got into Kiss, that kind of stuff. So I got Obi with me tonight from Norway. We got Tony Dio from North Carolina. And we got our resident vampire metal historian, Count Ralphus, with us this evening. And we are going to talk about Mr. Ace Frehley. Rest in peace, 74 years old.
Cheers to Ace.
Cheers. Cheers and beers to Mr. Ace Frehley.
So he had fell in studio and got a brain bleed. That was the case.
That's
Well,
what I had gathered.
So today I heard a totally different thing. Now, I don't know if it's true. It just came out a few hours ago. Adam Bomb. I don't know if you guys are familiar who Adam Bomb is. Adam Brenner. His stage name is Adam Bomb. He was kind of ran into 80s and stuff. Seattle guy and stuff. But anyhow, kind of grew up around all the Kiss guys, so he's really tight with them and stuff. Well, he said that he had talked with another guy that was really tight into camp, and supposedly Ace fell several weeks ago, but he was okay and he was recovering. And supposedly he fell again 2 days ago. And that's where the head trauma came from. Now, this is the first I've heard of it, and he's the only guy to said this so far.
No,
so I don't know if that's true.
It's Eddie Trunk yesterday, or actually I think it was last night I've seen it. Eddie Trunk knew about that it was coming to the end. He even actually did a eulogy. He knew he was going. He already had recorded something that I guess got played today, and he extended his radio show. But he explained. He said, yeah, he fell, and it was all true. He just thought it was a little blip, and he was going to have to cancel some shows, and he was in recovery. And he thought, everything sounded okay. He was in touch with him and stuff. And then he fell again. And I don't know if it was like a stroke or something that he had, but when he fell the second time, that's when he didn't recover from that. And he'd been in intensive care ever since. So in the last week, he knew it was coming and other people knew, but he said to keep, to his family, like to keep it under wraps and stuff, but he knew it was coming and he put up a thing about it. So that's definitely a true story. It was the second time. And
okay.
A fucked up thing too is the whole Ozzy thing. The whole Ozzy thing, the documentary that we just all watched recently is how he had fallen. And that really was the beginning of his whole downfall. Like Ozzy never really recovered after his fall in his bathroom. He fell in his bathroom, and then the aggressive surgeries that he got were overly aggressive, and he just could never recover from them. And they couldn't undo what some of the surgeons did. So it's kind of weird how they both died recently, and it's kind of related. Like they both pretty much related to a fall that fucked them up that they didn't recover. But Ozzy lasted a lot longer, of course. But yeah, that brain bleed, he was just like, probably out of it for last week.
Ace could have had some head trauma from, like I said, the first time, and it could have caused the brain bleed and caused him to fall again and make it even worse. You never know, but we'll find out. I'm sure it'll all come to light eventually. But the sad thing is he's gone, and the spaceman has left us. And I mean, it's just I made a Facebook post yesterday where I said anybody that's around our age group, especially Count and I being in our 50s, Kiss was like our Beatles, because this was like people we know that are older that got into the Beatles and were so inspired by the Beatles, started bands because of the Beatles. Same thing with our age group. People just gravitated to Kiss, people our age, and they loved them, and they picked up guitar and drums and stuff by being Kiss fans. And Ace's passing is much like the equivalent of George Harrison's passing for Beatles fans.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that growing up in the 70s, it was like, yeah, you're a little kid and you hear songs here and there, but you're not really thinking of who's singing them and the bands and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But when you find Kiss, you say, wow, what is this? This is something different. And for a little kid, it really catches your eye and your attention. And me being a horror fan and a monster fan, and then being a comic book fan, these were like real life superheroes, and Gene was like a monster. So I was just like totally, they became my favorite band as soon as I think before I even heard like a note of music, like they were like, all right, this is my favorite band. And the first album I ever asked for my parents was Kiss Alive 2. And I couldn't believe that they got it from me, because I remember just staring at that cover with Gene with all the blood and stuff. Like my parents were probably like, "What the fuck is this?" You know, they grew up in the 40s and 50s and stuff, and now here they're buying their son this fucking album with a guy with blood all over his face and stuff. But that was it. That album, to this day, I still fucking love it. You know.
How'd you first get into Kiss, Ovi?
Well, I got money from my grandma, and I was at I think it was at a photo store, and we're flipping through the racks of cassettes there, and just Hotter Than Hell was just there and popped out, and I thought it was looking so cool and stuff, and so I bought it. I was probably 10 or 11, so I didn't really know much. I couldn't a lick of English, so it's just started to listen to it, and like Parasite and Strange Race became favorites before I even knew what the name of the songs were. And we both know who wrote those two songs, so it's kind of like, and he is the one that looks the coolest, I think, and he has like I don't know, there's something just about him that he has a presence that towers the rest. And then I kind of went on a quest for like harder music and stuff, so I didn't really listen to Kiss for a while. But then I started to listen. I was started to watch like Pantera home videos, and of course Cold Gin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything came back in place. So I guess Steinbach is my ace in a way.
Yeah, he kind of is
Yeah.
for us. He kind of is for us.
He had the
I
Ace
first-
tattoo on his chest, you know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And he
And got
wound up
buried
getting
in
that
a
autograph.
kiss coffin. Got buried in a kiss coffin too.
That's
Mhm.
right. Yeah, he wound up getting that tattooed autographed by Ace too, and got that tattooed as well, which is pretty fucking cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got into Kiss with Revenge. I didn't even know about makeup era 1970s Kiss. Being a young dude watching MTV, the first Kiss I ever really got exposed to was that Revenge album with Unholy and I Just Wanna and all that. And I remember going and buying that album, begging my mother to get me that album from Cowdoors on cassette, and brought that home and fell in love with it. I thought every second of music on that was fucking incredible. And then I just kind of moved on, got into other stuff. Pantera, got into them and Biohazard. And by the way, that new Biohazard album is the fucking truth. I think you would love it, Count Ralphus. It's fucking nasty.
Is it much? Is it a lot like a Urban Discipline?
It
That
is.
vein?
It's like
Okay.
old school Biohazard.
That's their best album, you know.
Yeah,
So,
it's fucking great.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I got into heavier shit, and then Kiss reunited in '96, the original
Mhm.
Kiss, and that's when I really got into them. That's when I started buying all the '70s stuff and buying the '80s albums. I bought those Todd McFarlane action figures. I had those. I had the Johnny Lightning cars and the fucking, all the trading cards and the Psycho Circus comic book and then the Psycho Circus figures. I had all that shit. I got really into them in my mid to late teens, and I actually learned how to play the drums along to a live one and Rock and Roll Over. Rock and Roll Over is definitely my favorite Kiss album of all time, too. But yeah,
Johnny Lightning.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I didn't even
man.
realize
I
it was
got
a Johnny Lightning. I had to look at the bottom and go, "Oh yeah, it is a Johnny Lightning."
There you
I've got
go.
a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I got all
Yeah, I
four of
had a
them.
fucking bunch of those. Yeah, that was my first real digging into Kiss was that mid to late 90s when they reunited.
Yeah,
I
same
think
for
you've
me.
talked about it before, but how did you get into them, Tony Dio?
I had seen people at school and stuff. I'd seen the Kiss images and stuff like that on T-shirts and stuff, but I really didn't really know that much about them. And I had heard a guy that was my friend at school. I would stay at his house after school. I mean, this is like we're talking like second grade here. I would stay
Wow,
at his
nice.
house after school because my mom worked till 5 and school was out at 2:30. So his mom would pick us up and I'd stay at his house. And his mom bought him records and he had plenty of stuff to listen to and just everything that was whatever was popular. To He turned me on to other stuff as we got a little older in the next couple of years and stuff. But he was playing one of those K-Tel records one day and I heard Hard Luck Woman, and I was
Mhm.
mostly listening to country music at that time and Elvis and stuff like that, because that's what my dad listened to and that's what we listened to around the house and stuff. I mean, to this day, I'm still a massive fan of the TV show Hee Haw. I watch them on YouTube, and my friends that are anybody that's over here, my girlfriend or whatever, they're just tripping out that I know who everybody is on that show. So you quiz me in classic country, I know it, but especially like early 70s. But anyhow, Hard Luck Woman, it kind of had a sound to it like country. It's more of an acoustic song. So I wanted that. I was like, I want to get this song. So my dad took me down to this tape place called Tape City. It's a head shop that sold 8-track tapes and got me Rock and Roll Over. And
Nice.
because I asked the guy which Kiss album had Hard Luck Woman, he comes out with this. I recognized this from seeing it on some kid's shirt at school or something. This would have been like 77. So I was like, yeah, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's what I want. And so we got it, and I came home, and we put it in the 8-track player. My mom's going like, "Oh, what'd you get?" And of course, "I Want You" comes on. That's the first song that plays, and it's acoustic. When it comes on, my mom's like, "Oh, this isn't too bad." And then of course the power chord comes in, and "I Want You" chorus, and she did not like that. She was just like blown back. Oh my God, what is this? So yeah, but she had to get used to it pretty fast. My dad had no problem with it. He's just like, that's rock and roll, whatever. Let him have his music. And so kind of just went from there. I've told the story before, man. And my mom got into that whole kick with the women that were saying that they were satanic, and she didn't want me having the posters or anything. So anytime I had
Oh,
posters or
wow.
anything, I had to keep them hidden. Now she didn't mind the music. I mean, I ended up getting Kiss Alive too a couple years later. So I mean, and the only reason I got that was because the guy across the street had it. It was on 2 8-track tapes, Kiss Alive 2. And I think I traded him some comic books or something for it. But anyhow, like I said, that it really didn't last too long. And I loved them, man. They were just great. They were superheroes. They made
Yeah.
cool music, and I was just enamored with everything Kiss. And because I was getting into other stuff too, but I stayed a Kiss fan, and I remained a Kiss fan or whatever through it all. I mean, it's just I mean, through the changes and just I mean, they eventually became pretty much my favorite band, and I will say that this is my all-time favorite album of anything of all time because this is what changed my life, and it changed my path to become a more of a rocker and getting into hard rock and everything. I mean, it was definitely the gateway to everything, for me. And just you know, um, those original 4 guys. I mean, they're like I said earlier, they're my Beatles. They changed everything for me. So it's just really, we lost. I remember how I felt when Eric Carr died. And we didn't have internet and stuff back then. I found out Eric Carr died by I was just happened to have MTV on, and they came on and said talking about Freddie Mercury had died, and they said
Mhm.
also Eric Kiss's drummer Eric Carr has died of cancer, and I was like, didn't even know he was sick.
Yeah.
And but I know how bad I felt when he died, but it's just 10 times worse this time. I mean, Ace is older and all, but God, he's one of the original four, you know. And we're at that time in our lives where a lot of these guys are in their 70s now, and they don't have much time left, We've lost Dio, we've lost Ozzy, we've lost Lemmy, some of the icons, and it's just, God, man, it's just was not expecting to hear that news yesterday at all.
Definitely.
Quick little tidbit about Eric Carr was that his funeral was right in Middletown, and
Oh, really?
his mom used to work. His mom used to work at the local mall at J.C. Penney's, and one time we heard, oh, Gene and Paul were in J.C. Penney's in the '80s buying computers. And it was like, oh, they were in the mall. Holy shit, And then I was at at our movie theater one time. I was hanging out, and everybody was making this big noise about somebody famous at the Friendlies right down the road where you could see Friendlies. And I guess there was like a limo or something, and it was Paul Stanley was there eating at Friendlies. So they had been in our area quite a bit. And when he passed away, his parents opened like a Kiss store in the Orange County Mall, and it didn't last long. It would probably like maybe 2 months or something. And I felt bad because I remember walking past it, and there'd be like nobody in there, and they'd have Eric Carr's drum set up, and they had all this Kiss stuff in there. But it was at a time where I was kind of already like moved on to the heavier stuff. But like when I think back, it's like I wonder what I could have bought out of that store. And it did, like I said, it didn't last long. It was like a pop-up store that lasted a couple months and then it disappeared. But it was just kind of
Wow.
weird that happened right in our town. And I
Yeah.
remember the pictures, like where I got where my dad is buried, that same cemetery and everything is where they have pictures in the newspaper of like Gene Simmons outside the church and stuff the next day and stuff. But
Oh,
I
wow.
don't think he was actually buried there though. He was buried someplace else. But they had the funeral at St. Joseph's Church because it was like this big, massive church there.
So he was from Middleton?
No, he was from Orange County area. I'm not sure. I think maybe Newburgh or something like that. Or actually, I think he was from like originally in the city someplace, like maybe Yonkers or Bronx or I'm not sure exactly where. Then somehow his parents lived up here or something. I'm not exactly sure that whole. But at the time of his death, his mom was working at right in Middletown at the mall. But another thing about like when we were kids, the kids that were older than us that were into Led Zeppelin and all Hendrix and all that stuff, they would make fun of Kiss, like, oh, this like gimmick band and stuff. But it's like, yeah, the gimmick wears off when as a little kid, but you don't listen to the music 50 years later if it was based on a gimmick. The gimmick is not what lasted, it's the songs that lasted. So, there was definitely something more than the gimmick caught your eye as a little kid, but it's not what made you a fan for life.
It says here that
Yeah.
he grew up on Belmont Avenue in East New York in Brooklyn.
Wow.
Oh,
The
Eric Carr's a
Kiss,
Brooklyn kid.
the classic Kiss 76 bicentennial poster of them
Yeah.
with the, and with flag. I've got mine. Mine's hanging up here, and it's the original one that I had as a kid because I got one for my birthday one year, but was not allowed to hang it up. So it
Huh.
stayed rolled up for till I was a teenager. Once I was like 12 and stuff, Mom didn't care anymore really, so she'd moved on to other things. Kiss wasn't in the spotlights anymore. So, but yeah, so if I guess having it saved for 4 or 5 years there that it wasn't being
You said a
displayed is
flag
actually
or a poster? Flag
it's
or
the
a poster?
poster. It's the poster with their holding
Oh,
the
with the
flag.
flag. Okay,
Yeah,
I have an original of that too. I still got in
yeah.
good shape.
Yeah,
In good shape.
yeah. I got it. I framed it. The corners are getting kind of ragged, but I put it in a frame and it's good to go. But I always love that photo because that's another Ace story. There's outtakes from that photo shoot, and if you look, Ace is like butted up against Gene, and he's laughing. And there's outtakes of him falling all down. I think he was drunk during that, and they were they were cutting up and laughing. He was just having a ball during that photo shoot. I'd just love to see film of it. It'd be hilarious.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. One of the first things I did when I got home from band practice last night was watch the Tom Snyder interview.
Oh, that's the most classic.
I had to.
Yeah.
Just
I
Ace
had
Frehley at his
to.
best.
Just to
Yeah,
keep myself from fucking crying, I had to watch that. That interview is so good. And Gene is
Gene and
so pissed
Paul
through most
pissed.
of it.
Yeah,
There's a couple of times where Gene can't help himself and he breaks down laughing, but for most of that interview, he's just looking at Ace like dad looks at the kid who's misbehaving at the dinner table.
I think he's just trying to like go along with it. Like he's pissed, but he's just trying to be like, but I don't think he was smiling at one point, but I don't think he was happy.
but
It's funny because Paul was
probably
actually pretty cool through it.
yeah. It's just God. He was hilarious because Tom Snyder says out he was reading like some little tidbits on the band members before they went to start filming, and it said Ace would be the hardest to get to talk, and it's just like, no, it's not, But yeah, God, man, when he said that, he was so serious, like, straight face. No, actually, I'm a plumber.
Yeah. No, I'm the trout player.
Yeah.
One of the other great TV things that happened back then was the Paul Lindy Halloween special.
Oh
in like
yeah.
1976 or whatever. We were little kids, and like all of a sudden you see in TV Guide that Kiss is going to be on with the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz, and they had like all the guests that were going to be on. And I remember that was like the first time it like the generation before us, like everybody said, oh, the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan show was like, that's when Ozzy knew he wanted to be a rock star. And that's when all these people from that generation, probably the guys from Kiss even said that, but then like for like our generation, it's like all the kids that seen that was like the moment where they were like, oh, we got to get guitars and drums and shit,
And I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. I had no clue that was even happening. I never saw that footage until I started collecting bootleg videos and getting a lot of Kiss stuff and saw that. I was like, God, that's just such an amazing performance, even though they're lip syncing to the songs.
Yeah.
It's just, it looks so cool, man. Because honestly,
that was the first time I ever seen them live.
The Destroyer Rock and Roll Over period costumes are my favorite costumes of all of them,
Absolutely.
And, yeah. Do you guys remember when they were on Mad TV when they did the reunion in 96?
That was the best with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he's like, you'll never stop me, Kiss. I got the power of 1,000 small boys.
that was fucking great.
And the action figures thing, does your action figures suck?
Yeah, that was
God,
great.
that was awesome. I've got that on video somewhere. Yeah.
That was awesome. That was
Family Guy had a good episode too about Kiss. Family Guy, the episode with like,
the Family Guy was great.
Episode where what's her name?
Yeah.
Lois just was like banged like Gene back in the 70s or something.
That's right.
Yeah, she said hi. She calls him Heim.
Heim Witz.
His real name.
Heim Witz. Yeah. Yeah, but she didn't know the words to Rock and Roll All Night though, and he said, I should have known when you weren't a Kiss fan when you wanted to be Peter Criss. Nobody wants to be Peter Criss, not even Peter Criss.
Not even Peter Criss. That moment where Tupac introduced them, that was a big fucking deal, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. I think that was like VMAs or something, or maybe it was.
I thought it was a music awards, American Music Awards. Something I can't remember it. I just remember they said that they walked in the back and they walked right past security. Nobody questioned them or nothing. They just walked in and everybody's like, "Wow, Kiss is here." But when they walked out on stage, I mean, everybody just stood up and all because nobody was expecting that to happen.
First time in makeup in how many years? It was unbelievable to see him, even if that was all it was just that.
That was 13 years,
that was
I believe.
The beginning. That was just
12 or 13 years.
But they got the award for the MTV Unplugged, right? Because Tupac died in 96, so it can't be like too far into 96.
It might have been 95 because it was before they did the tour, and that was the same episode, if I'm not mistaken, that Van Halen came out with David Lee Roth, and Roth was hamming it up so much that the reunion didn't happen because
That's
I
right.
thought that was
they
I
realized
thought
they
that was a
hated
few
each
years
other.
later. I didn't know that both happened in the same night.
I think it was the same
Oh.
show.
No, I don't think so. I
Maybe
don't know.
not.
It
Maybe not. I
doesn't
was
seem
thinking
like,
it was.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it
'cause
was the
95
same,
wasn't-
almost like Impact. That was the same kind of thing, like, whoa, Van Halen on stage, whoa, Kiss on stage, but I don't think
Yeah.
it was both. the
No,
same
you know,
night.
you're
That was
right. The
different.
Van Halen thing might have been around like 98 or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I
I
think it
think
was a few
Sammy
years
was still
later.
there in
97.
95.
Yeah. I don't know. I just know all this stuff happened. I can't keep track of when it was.
This
But
book,
yeah, man.
this book is
Yeah,
cool.
I mean,
That is a great book, Ovi.
it is.
But
You
I
know,
bought
he-
it in,
great book.
in Spokane in Washington.
he said he wanted to write part 2 to that because he couldn't remember the
Yeah.
80s very much. And it was very spotty around the 80s period.
Yeah.
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 I
So
read
how
all
many
4
times
there,
did you
but
guys
that was the most fun. That was the most fun of the all 4 because he was such a fuck up and did so many drugs and stuff. And Peters was pretty crazy too. If you haven't read Peters, his was right up there with Ace's. But Gene and Paul's book were kind of boring in comparison, you know.
Definitely.
The only thing I found interesting about Paul's book was the whole part about his self-esteem and stuff. I mean, even
Yeah.
growing up the way he
Just
did,
even
with
knowing
the-
about
with
his
the-
ear,
with the-
I didn't even know about
Yeah.
the ear.
But even when
I
he
didn't even
became
know
a
about-
huge rock star, he still had issues, especially when him and Donna
Yeah.
Dixon split up and all. But yeah, that's a different story. But yeah, how many times did you guys get to see Ace Frehley perform either with Kiss or solo? I mean, you don't have to give me the exact number, but did you get to see Ace Frehley with Kiss and solo?
I
You
did.
never did,
I
Ovi?
saw Kiss with Ace in 1998 on the Psycho Circus tour at Madison Square Garden. And
Yeah,
that
I was
a
at
fucking
that
great
one.
show.
I was at that show. That was with the 3D glasses.
With the 3D
big
glasses. Yeah, I
3D.
really didn't use the 3D glasses very much because I was so focused on watching the stage.
Well,
But
there
that
was a couple times where it came up, say it came up. Now put your glasses on, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
you were wearing it the whole show. It told you when to put them on.
Right.
You
Yeah,
still
but
got your
even when they did
glasses.
that,
You
I
still
kind of
got
was
your.
just like smoking pot and watching the stage.
I was
mean,
I was
that's
center
fun.
stage for that, and I had the perfect seat for that. When they had a thing where this big tongue came out, and where I was sitting, it was like, wow, this is perfect. Like at first, we didn't think we had great seats or none, but we just happened to be like the first level, and it was like right in the center, so it was like perfect for the 3D effect. You know, it was really
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, I didn't
I
see that
remember this
tour.
very well in Norway here too, because Psycho Circus came out on music video, and that song is so great. I just remember like
Yeah.
yesterday when just Paul
Maybe
starts
I
to
did.
scream and the guitar riff come in, and it was like all that stuff with the 3D glasses, and every record store was like full of Kiss, and it was such an explosion of Kiss. It was like you were like nowhere where you turn there was Kiss.
Yeah, there's a lot of
So,
hype. A lot
Yeah.
of hype at that time.
yeah, so
The whole reunion in the beginning was hype,
we got
like
to
crazy. There were
discover the
magazines.
Kiss with makeup too. So I never knew Kiss without the makeup, because I came into Psycho Circus, like that was kind of the second coming, was the first for me. So
James, do you
Yeah.
still got your 3D glasses from that show?
I do not. I do not. I lost a lot of I've moved a lot, so I lost a lot of shit after my teens.
Well, check this out. This is my when I was 8 years old, I had a birthday party, and in this picture, I'm the
Yeah,
kid
it's a cool
with a
picture.
fistful of dollars, and you could see someone's holding up the Ace album that I'm getting for my 8th birthday in 1978. I don't know if you can
Oh,
see that,
wow.
but the thing is that album today is right here. I keep it in a frame in my house, but I got it autographed. I got some pics from Ace in here. Oh, there it is on this side. But there's the glasses. I put that in the frame, you know, and a ticket stub. But that's
Oh,
the same
yeah, yeah.
album. Same album that's in that picture with the with me as an 8-year-old kid getting that album, 78. And I got then years later, I get to, well, this is when I got to meet them or meet him. That's me, my wife, and Ace at a convention. I met him twice. The first time I met him, when I got that autograph, I had a little fun saver. It was before cell phones, and I got home, get them developed, and the fucking pictures are all blurry. We're like, oh, what the fuck? You know, we never
Oh,
thought we'd
that
meet him
sucks.
again. Then a few years later, he came back to the same convention, and this time we didn't pay for an autograph. We just paid for the picture because I had to get a good picture, and then so I ended up getting this second picture, you know. But yeah.
You're frozen up pretty good, so I'm not seeing.
He's back on track now.
Yeah, you're back now.
You seen the picture?
It's
when I
hard to
put it
see.
up?
It's kind of hard to see. There you go. You can see it now.
Yeah, now I can see
Yeah.
it.
Gotta
Yeah.
be like on an
Yeah,
angle.
so it's a good picture.
That's
What's a
awesome.
space
It's on
beer?
my Facebook.
I never got a photo with him. I met him at a KISS convention in 1994, I believe it was,
Yeah,
in
the acoustic tour.
Atlanta, Georgia. No, they would do these KISS conventions. That particular, I went to one. The first one I ever went to was at the Rothman Center in Hackensack, New Jersey, and Peter Criss appeared there. And then the next year, I went to the one in Atlanta, Georgia, the Atlanta KISS convention. It was put on by Creatures of the South Productions. And you paid something like 25 bucks to get into this thing. And there's all kinds of KISS memorabilia and stuff on display, which if you remember the history, a bunch of that stuff was stolen, and KISS, Gene and Paul went in and got a bunch of their stuff back at one of those conventions. But anyhow, they had a lot of stuff, and then they had tons of vendors selling stuff. And they'd have a KISS tribute band play, and they had Ace Frehley. He was there making an appearance, and once you paid your admission, that was part of the show. I mean, you got his autograph on whatever, and it didn't cost you anything extra. But I mean, I didn't have a professional camera or anything. I didn't even think about getting a photo. I don't even know if they let you stop, take a photo. We're trying to keep the line moving. And I just bought a couple of 8x10s. I got a full color of Ace without makeup in the blue leather jacket signed, and I got one in the Dynasty costume, black and white 8x10, that I got signed. They're hanging up here on the wall. I just couldn't get them down. But good signature, like on Count Ralphus's album. He draws the card and everything. But it was funny because we're going through the line. He had a handler, a guy helping him out, handing him, like gold or silver Sharpies, whatever he needed, And he goes, "Who do you want him to make this out to?" And I said, "To Dio." And he stopped writing and looked up and said, "You're going to give these to Ronnie James Dio?" And I was like, "No, that's my nickname." He just goes, "Oh, okay, okay." He looked confused. Then he went back to writing again, But because he really didn't stop writing. He didn't hardly look up at anybody and stuff. He just was signing stuff and move on, They're
Yeah,
kind of herding you through like cattle, because there was several hundred people there.
of course.
But I got to see him. I never saw KISS back in the day. I saw my first KISS show was '85, Animalized tour, January of '85. Saw him in January of '85, and it was Animalized tour. And then I saw him in December of '85, and it was Asylum tour. That's how things worked back
Wow.
then, folks. You had two, they put an album out every year, album tour. That's what everybody did pretty much, Now you get 5 years between albums or 10 years between albums. It's crazy.
My
But
first time seeing them was Animalized tour too, but I'm pretty sure it was in '84, so it must have been before you've seen them.
you saw one of the shows with Mark St. John, didn't you say?
I seen the show that they put out a soundboard album. One of the only shows I think the only show they have a recording of with him playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually got to see Mark St. John and Queensryche opened up, and they had just put out The Warning, just came out. I still have a shirt for both bands today, but I haven't seen the Animalized shirt in a long time, but I still have my Queensryche Warning shirt. It looks like it was meant for a 14-year-old kid, it's tiny little thing, could never wear it.
But yeah, that Poughkeepsie show got released, you're right, yeah. But yeah, when I saw them, it was Crocus was the opener, and they were on the Blitz tour. But yeah, so that was my first time seeing them. But of course, it wasn't Ace. And the first time I saw Ace was the Frehley's Comet Tour, 1987. They played a small club. And they did, they were on the first Frehley's Comet album. And then I saw him on the Trouble Walking tour, and I saw him on the Just for Fun tour like a year or so later. And just several times just through the years, it'd be one was he did a tour with Peter Criss. They called it the Bad Boys tour, and that was around 95, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember Michael Bruce from Alice Cooper's band was living in the area, and he came to the show that night and got up and played with them at the end of the set. And then like a couple weeks later, we were hanging out with him. He was over at a friend of mine's house hanging out and stuff. But yeah, so that was 1995. But yeah, so I got, then of course the reunion happened, and that was just something I had waited for, thought I'd never see. So when those tickets went on sale, I bought tickets to two shows in a row there in North Carolina, Greensboro, Charlotte, went to both of those. And then a week later, I went to Hampton, Virginia, saw them again, and saw them, a couple more times. And then when I saw the Psycho, by the time I saw what was I guess the tail end of the Psycho Circus tour, it was not, they weren't doing the glasses and all that stuff anymore. I've got some kind of videotape. Do you remember they had a Psycho Circus VHS tape?
Yeah.
It came with those glasses. I still got that.
Yeah.
That's weird that they didn't do the 3D show when you caught it. I wonder why that was.
Well, it was.
Depends on the
I guess
venue,
it was
maybe.
still. I guess it was still considered the Psycho Circus tour. I guess. I mean, they were opening with that song, but I don't recall which one that was. But there was no glasses involved. Maybe just.
I had seen them 8 times between seeing Kiss with the original lineup and then seeing Ace. I seen 4 times. The first 4 shows they did in New York was at the Garden, and I went to the second show and the 4th show. And I told the story last night. I'll tell it really quick. Is that so I go to the first show, and it's the Energy in Madison Square Garden. Kiss is back with the makeup. Never thought it was going to happen. Unbelievable energy. We were so blown away by it. We had like, I don't know, second level seats and stuff. It was pretty cool. But so then one of my friends is going the 4th night, and he's going by himself because he's got a free ticket in the NBC box seats. And he's like, "Yo, if you guys get tickets, you can come down. I'll drive you down and stuff." So we somehow get tickets. When we get the very top nosebleed seats in the Garden, it was the very last row. And so me and my wife, we get there, and my friends like laughing, joking with us about where we're sitting and where he's sitting in the box seat, And we get to our seats. I buy my 2 beers, and I'm sitting down because I don't want to have to get up every beer. So I always buy 2 and sit down. My wife's got her beers, and all of a sudden, right before the show starts, my friend shows up, and he's like, "Yo, the box seat thing, it's like a room," and he's like, "There's only 2 other people in there, and they gave me their passes just to come get you and get you in." And he's like, "But we got to go right now." And we're like, "Holy shit." So we fucking grab our beers, and we're like taking our time walking. And he just comes over and grabs my beers and throws them in the garbage. And it was like, back then it was like $10 beers. Now it'd be a $20 beer. But he was like, "Fuck that." He's like, "Don't worry about it." I'm like, "Dude, I just paid $10 for that." And he's like, Don't worry. There's a fridge in the fucking room, and it's packed with beer." We're like, "What?" So we throw our other beers down so we can like run down. And we get there right as the show starts, and we get in this room, and we have our own bathroom, and there's like a glass thing like for the commentators doing like a hockey game or something, so it's kind of muffled the sound a little bit. But we got these amazing seats, and Kiss is playing and stuff, and we're just like, how the fuck did this happen? This is the greatest thing. I never got box seats again for any show. And we got our own bathroom and everything, and a fridge full of beer. And then at one point during the show, we hear a knock on the door, and we're like, it was good while it lasted. And this lady comes in with this big tray of like shrimp and pizza and all this shit, all for free. I didn't eat nothing because I was tripping. So I just was like, everybody else was fucking eating and stuff. But at the end of the night, I told the story too. It was like there was a garbage can there, and no one threw any garbage in there. So I just pulled the bag out, and at the end, I just started emptying the free beer into my fucking garbage bag. And I walked out of Madison Square Garden with this fucking bag like Santa Claus. And I was fucking handing out beers to people out in the street and stuff. I was fucking like just handing them out like to everybody, and had beer for like the rest of the week. Had beer for the rest of the week from the Garden. But I don't feel bad for it because I paid so much overpriced pricing for beers at the Garden throughout the years, so fuck them.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Fuck 'em.
one of my favorite shows of all time. And then I see them again. They play in New Jersey on New Year's Eve, and it's Dick Clark's New Year's Eve special is on TV at the time. So they tune in to the Kiss show that I'm at, and right as it's getting to midnight, all of a sudden on the big screen it's Dick Clark, and he's got like a crowd of people behind him, and Paul's telling the crowd to yell to hello to Dick Clark and stuff. And I wish I had it like on videotape, but yeah, that was just amazing. You know, we're getting to see you know on New Year's. It was one of the best New Year's Eves ever. And then
Rock the
I see him
ball.
on the yeah, I see him on Psycho Circus tour with the 3D glasses and stuff. But then my first time seeing Ace was there's a special show called New York Steel. So after 9/11, there's this big benefit for the firefighters and stuff. And like the Who play, I think Paul McCartney was there, and it was at the
Mhm.
Garden. And
Yeah.
it's a big show, but there's like no representation of metal. They just get ignored, you know. So all day event thing. So Eddie Trunk organizes this thing called New York Steel, and him and Mike Piazza, the Mets baseball player who's a big metalhead, they're the host of it. They get Twisted Sister to reunite for the first time in I don't know how many years, like 13 years or something. And it's Twisted Sister, Sebastian Bach, Ace Frehley, Overkill, and Anthrax all on one bill, you know. And it's, you know, it's the first time I'm seeing Ace solo after all these years and stuff. And then I see him again in Jersey years later, and he had an awesome band with him at the time. It was like the time of Space Invader came out, and that was incredible. I love that album. I think Space Invader and Anomaly, I think, are better than the last two Kiss albums. But then I see him twice at the Chance. So yeah, I got to see Ace 4 times solo, and then 4 times with Kiss.
Yeah, I saw
Tony,
him twice solo as
I
well.
wonder if you what there was those 3D glasses when you saw them, because there was a VHS coming out 98 or 99, the second coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I
didn't
had
have
that when
glass.
it first came out.
That
before
didn't
you
have
saw.
glasses with it though. Yeah, that's
Nah.
just two VHS. It came with a book. Yeah. Hey, you know something that Count was mentioning a while ago. We were actually mentioned. Somebody brought it up last night about the reunion tour.
Mhm.
When they did that tour, tickets were $40, but that was $40 for front row or $40 for the top row.
You know,
First come, first serve.
someone came against that in the comments, though. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh,
There's so many comments in that video, but someone was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I paid $500 for a front row or third
Wow.
row," and then somebody else said they paid 300. So I think we were a little bit off. Like that, I remember that being the deal. $40 in the '80s for sure, even in the early '90s. But I think by the time that Kiss show happened, we might have been off on saying
yeah,
that.
but man, dude, I was in both nights. I was in the first section of seats. I was probably 12th row, 14th row, something like that. I have to go back and look at the tickets, look at
That's
the
what I
ticket
got to look at
stubs.
the
But
ticket stub to make sure,
and
because I
I
think
don't
we were off.
remember them being much, man. I mean, I don't remember it being outrageous. I just remember 40, $50 because around that time shows were still around $20. I mean, hell,
I
I saw
think
Iron Maiden. I saw Iron Maiden with Queensryche and Rob Halford in 2000, and I was on the like 12th row, and I don't think my ticket was about like $40 then. It was a few
yeah.
years later that it just started going crazy
I think the
with
Kiss thing
outrageous.
might have been Kiss reunion might have been when it started, really, though, when prices started going. Because I remember those Madison Square Garden shows, they just disappeared so fast. Like you had to get tickets like that day, you know.
Yeah.
But somehow
Yeah.
I ended up getting tickets for the last night, but I got the very last seats in the house. But we have to check the ticket stubs. And I just noticed somebody on our Testament video that we did where it's off the topic a little bit. I just got to bring it up. Is that someone was like, "Did any of you guys read the linear notes of the liner notes of the fucking Testament album?" Because I was going on and on about that first Testament song being like the best, and it didn't sound anything like Chuck. It turns out the guy Eric is singing on that song, and none of us like said that. We were just like, "Yeah, that song." he sounds fucking vicious and evil and stuff. So I just thought that I just seen the comment right before I came on this because it came up today, that video. But
Wow.
I was like, oh, I don't have the album. I had to write to the guy. I don't have the album yet, so I didn't notice that, you know.
I do recall when the Kiss tickets went on sale though for the reunion that we still had local Ticketmaster outlets. I didn't have to get online. There was no online to
Yeah.
get on. You didn't have to get on. And I remember because I had friends that worked at the local record store that had the Ticketmaster, so I was able to get hooked up and get in so we could
Oh
make sure
yeah.
we got seats within like the first 20 rows
But
or
I think it
less.
was when like they started like giving different prices for different sections more. Because I remember like
Yeah.
back in the day, yeah, a ticket was $50 if you were the upper level nosebleed or if you were front row. That was the way it was all about if you slept overnight and you got in there first and stuff. But then at one point they started going, okay, the people on the floor are going to pay this much and the people on the first level are going to pay this much. I don't know when exactly that happened, but at one point that became a thing. And now we're to the point where it's just absolutely insane. Like Rush tickets right now, holy fuck. I'm seeing
Oh,
the
it's
most ridiculous
ridiculous what those
prices.
are going for.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah.
So Tony, you saw them live in 1996 on their first tour. Was it at the North Charleston Coliseum?
No, I saw them in Greensboro, Coliseum. It was Charlotte, North Carolina, and then Greensboro,
Oh,
North
okay.
Carolina the next night. And then I saw them Hampton Coliseum like a week or so later.
Okay.
How about this piece of just excellent film here?
Great
This
movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Such a great
I
movie.
got the
When
same copy on VHS. I got the same VHS as that.
Yeah. It's a trip when it came out on the version it's on the Kissology DVD is different. It's got some different scenes in it, and it's got a different
It's
soundtrack.
the
And it's
European
called
cut, isn't it?
Kiss Meets the Phantoms. Oh yeah, there you go, Detroit Rock City. Yeah, that was another cool one. Yeah.
But the Kissology has the European bootleg cut, right?
Yeah. It's not a bootleg. That's just the way it came out in Europe. It was called Phantoms, Attack of the Phantoms over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I met Edward Furlong from that Detroit Rock City, and when I was meeting him, I got an 8x10 signed from American History X, but he had full size posters, original posters of Detroit Rock City, and like everybody online was getting that signed and buying the poster and getting it signed. But I thought American History X was a really good movie, so I went with that.
That
I've
is a
seen
great
that movie so many times.
That is a great flick.
Yes, it is.
I pulled out a few things of albums and stuff, but there's my Ace Frehley 8-track and cassette. I've got my album back here. And
I got the cassette too. I got it on cassette too, the solo album.
here's your original Migo.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I got that too, but
his legs are under the suit are all taped up with medical tape because the joints are completely dry rotted from over the years.
I got tinfoil armbands on mine because
now
it's missing his tinfoil.
Ralph, you have there. So there's two versions of these. Ralph, you have the skinny Ace. They call that the skinny body Ace.
Huh.
This is the more, I guess the muscular one or whatever. But there's I know this is Kiss nerdum coming in here now. I'm comparing dolls here, but there are different ones. It's amazing.
Mine's got a guitar. Yours didn't come with a guitar.
No, the guitar was when you bought these, they came in a cardboard box, and the cardboard box had the instruments on the back you cut out. Because by the time I bought all four of these from a guy they didn't have, my mom would not. I remember seeing these in the dollar store, like one of the like Maxway in like 1979 for like $1.50 a piece. They're trying to get rid of them. My mom would not buy them from me, and I had no money. And then I went back a few days later when I had some money. I was going to try to get them, and they were gone. And so in I think it was about 1989 maybe or so, maybe about 1990 or something. Some guy, I bought all four of these and a Kiss lunchbox for $100.
Wow.
Nice.
Damn, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
This guitar is from like another Ace toy. It's not from this one, but
that's from the McFarlane.
Yeah, like shoots the headstock thing shoots off out of it. But for
Yeah.
some reason I just always keep it with this one, you know.
Yeah, that's from the
I
McFarlane one from
I
'96.
got the Gene too from that series, but I never got the other two. I only got the Gene and the Ace.
Lunchbox.
I love that ball.
The
Yeah, that's
lunchbox
a
is cool, man.
original. Now, this isn't one I got with the dog. I already had this one. I actually took the other lunchbox and traded it to a friend. But this actually has the thermos
That's
still in
awesome.
it. You
I
know,
always wanted to get
nice.
another one of them.
there's some soup from 1982 still in this thermos. Yeah,
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
I
Yeah.
had that.
I wanted
just-
this.
My parents never
I
thought of
wanted it.
keeping anything like that for
Nah.
me, you know.
I wanted this so bad when I was
Yeah,
in
it's
school,
awesome.
and mom would not buy it. I got a Star Wars lunchbox instead, which is pretty cool.
I had the
so.
Star Wars one. I had a King Kong one. I always
Yeah,
remember all of them.
Battlestar Galactic.
My
I had
parents
Happy
would just throw
Days.
them away the next year. Every year I would get like a new one, and they would throw away the old one. They threw away so much cool shit that I had. I got this Ace head knocker here,
Nice.
and I showed this the other night. This series came out. It's like they had like, you know, two different sets of all different, like two different
Oh,
eras of
yeah.
Kiss, you know. But
Yep.
like at it, you know, it cost you $100 just to get the one set. They're like $20 a piece. So I just got the Ace. I didn't get anybody
That
else. I
those
just bought
looks
the. I was
those
like,
look
I was like,
great.
I gotta buy one, and it's the Love Gun, like ever. Yeah, it's a the Spaceman Love Gun outfit. But yeah, he's got his little Les Paul there. It's fucking pretty cool, you know.
At least they put a picture of Ace on there, not Tommy. How many
Yeah.
times did you guys see news stories report with the wrong photo over the last
Yeah.
day? They've
Yeah,
got
this
Tommy
morning
Faye.
I was having breakfast, getting ready to go to work, and ABC News is on because my mother-in-law is watching it. And they're like, yeah, glam rocker Ace Frehley from the glam band Kiss. And if that's the first thing that made me drop my fork and go, what the fuck? And it goes, yeah, Ace Frehley died. And then they show a picture of Tommy Thayer, and I was screamed at the TV. I'm like, that's fucking Tommy, you assholes.
That's fake Ace.
But you know,
I mean, I like Tommy, but come on, it's
Ace is sitting on Jindal and laughing his ass off.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I
Yes,
see
he is.
someone put up a great comment in our video that me and Tony were on last night. They said, Ace just announced his tour of the galaxy coming to a universe near you. I was like, wow, that's a great comment, you know? Like he's already on tour, touring the galaxy, but he's coming to a universe near you. That was cool.
Here's
I
the
got-
Kiss comment. Kiss.
I got he's showing the Kiss cards though, and I have all like the original Kiss
Yeah,
cards. I got them all in like
I
the
have 'em
things
all.
and stuff. Yeah.
I have them all in a book, and I have the covers. I got one or two of the shrink wrap that it came in or whatever, the packaging.
Yeah.
This
I
is
got
the
that
one.
too.
This
Yeah,
is the
that's
one that was
awesome.
supposedly printed in Kiss blood.
Yeah,
And then
I don't
this
have
is
that. I
part
have
two.
that one. I have that one, but I don't got the first one. I think I had it when I was a kid and my parents like threw it away or whatever. But now I see it and it goes for fucking ridiculous money. So I'll never.
These are
buy
missing the
one.
posters. They have each one had a poster. They're missing the poster, so I got them pretty reasonably priced. This is the Kiss Meets the Phantom.
I have that.
program.
I have that.
Program.
I found that in the '90s at like a convention, and I still have that. But I probably got a fucking stack of when they did the reunion. They were on Spin magazine, and they did the 4 covers where each one was. And I bought all 4 of them, and it was like
I used to have all that stuff.
It was Kiss Mania. It was like they were on the cover of everything for like that whole cycle of them announcing the tour and stuff. And I have just a pile of fucking magazines from that era.
This is a 1978 Kiss Army program. This is when you joined the Kiss Army, they would send you this in the mail, and it had the individual photos. It's got these little bio sheets on each band member.
Awesome.
It's got 8x10s of each band member, and really, really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Another thing, something I always wanted, never got when I was a kid. So you seek this stuff out when you're an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a Dynasty tour book, and believe it or not, I bought it from or I traded weed or something for it. from Steve Levin, because he actually seen him on. I tried to get him on the show tonight because I know he put up a post saying that he picked up his guitar because of Ace Frehley, like a million
Yeah.
other people have said, you know.
Yeah.
But I was doing trades with him back in the day for weed for his albums and this and that. And one of the things I got was a Dynasty tour book. But I also have all the tour books from all the shows that I seen when they reunited. I got a tour book every show that I went to.
I've got those. Yeah, I got a Dynasty one as well that I got from somewhere years ago. Yard sale, I think,
Ace
maybe.
question is like, because Fractured Mirror is something that's been with him like from his soul album to this very day. What is the basis of the Fractured Mirror? Where did the idea, or does it have any reflection to his real life? What's the Fractured Mirror? What's the deal?
I think they just wrote the song and came up with a title. You know, that original version is he was experimenting with something that was really new, and that was the guitar synthesizer. It was a new instrument, and that's what you hear on there. That sounds like keyboards and stuff. And I mean, you know, he had some good players on his albums and on his solo record, and I think he just kind of ran with that when he did the Frehley's Comet. They did Fracture 2, and then they did Fracture 3, and I think it's,
You know, what's
it's
interesting
cool,
too is that he originally falls in the studio. So I wonder, that's something I haven't heard yet, is how far was he into this Origins Part 4? It is, right? Yeah.
Three.
So,
Three.
it was 3. So I'm thinking, like, how far did he get? Like, hopefully he got pretty damn far where it's like we're gonna get like one last album, even though, yeah, I got the other ones too, you know, Space Invader and Anomaly, and then Origin
You got
1.
the anomaly like that, you can get like that pyramid.
Yeah,
Origin.
yep, I got the pyramid in the other room. I should have pulled that out.
Yeah. Yeah, Anomaly
got this
folds out into a pyramid.
I got this
album
cool
is so good.
bootleg. There's a cool bootleg from 2002.
You got the bootleg for
Ace's
the
birthday.
other side of the coin.
Huh?
Do you have the bootleg, the other side of the coin?
No,
From
that's the only one
95?
I got. Tony's got a couple of cool ones that he showed the other night, but I got the Frehley's Comment, and then I got
The demos.
Spaceman
This is
album.
Frehley's Comet demos.
Yeah, that's a cool thing that he got there.
I like the last album, 10,000 Volts.
That's the only one I hadn't gotten. I didn't get that.
I don't have that. I thought I bought it, but it's not here, so maybe I didn't.
Pretty good. A lot of it's co-written with the dude from Trickster, the guitar player from Trickster.
Yeah,
and it's good.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
Fucking good.
I gotta get it.
Yeah, I didn't. A lot of people didn't like Cherry Medicine. I thought it was a decent song. It was just a good poppy. Yeah,
it's a fine song. Luckily, I got to see Ace solo twice. I saw him in 2021 open for Alice Cooper. And I wish that lineup was reversed. I so wish that lineup was reversed because I had so much fun during Ace's set. And then I kind of was like bummed out with Alice Cooper. I was like, he's doing all this new shit that I don't really know. And it was so fun hearing the Kiss songs. And then I got to see
I saw that. It was great.
23 at the Ridgefield Playhouse in Connecticut. And I almost got thrown out of that show because I was leaving my seat to run up front to try to grab a guitar pick, and security kept grabbing me. Going, dude, you got to go back to your seat. And I'm like, I just want to get He's throwing a guitar pick out every fucking 2 seconds.
Every 2 seconds. Yeah. At the chance, he was flicking them everywhere. I ended up with like 3 of them, but like I was catching them, but they were hitting people, bouncing off, everybody scrambling on the ground for them.
Yeah.
But I ended up giving them to like my friends that were there that couldn't get them. And now I'm kind of like, shit, I should have held on to them and like try to sell them or whatever. But they were there. They were there and they couldn't catch them. I was like, here, I got 3 of them.
Yeah.
He was throwing them right at my wife and just like hitting everybody in the head and shit. But man, there must have been like 100 of them thrown out that night.
Yeah,
and they were cool.
Every 2
They're
seconds,
cool too.
They're throwing one out.
They're cool too. They got like this. They got Ace's face on the pick. You know, that's a fucking nice pick.
Oh, that's
you know.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I got this other pick. This one, it wasn't an Ace pick, but it was a Paul Stanley pick. The guy Franz Stuber, he had died of like COVID. I don't know if you guys remember that. He was Ace's guitar tech, and he'd been with him this guy went to my school, And I remember he's a great guitar player. He was in like local bands and stuff. I remember in my school, he did like the Star Spangled Banner on guitar at like the graduation and stuff. And then he ended up getting a job with Kiss. And at one point, he became the guy that would say, "You wanted the best, you got the best, the hottest band
Oh
in the world."
wow.
He got that part of the job too, as part of his job. So, but he toured one of years. Anyway, I was working with some guys doing construction, and we ended up working at the guy's father's house. And he's like, he could tell we were a bunch of metalheads. I was one of the guys I was working with was Sammy from Morpheus Descends and Mortician, the drummer. And we're doing construction. He goes, "You guys look like you might like the band Kiss." And we're like, "Yeah, yeah, Kiss is great." He's like, "My son works for them." And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, I got these things he gives me to give to people." And he goes in the house and he fucking handed out all these pics to us. And they would say Paul Stanley on the back and Kiss on the front, you know. And I had extras of them too, and I gave them out to people that were Kiss fans, you know. But
That's
it was
awesome.
just pretty cool. Like, but if I had extras now, I'd hook everybody up, but I gave them away.
God damn it, Count Ralphus.
Yeah. I do have an extra pair of them glasses though. So if someone's got something cool to trade, I part with a pair of the 3D glasses from the Cycle Circus tour.
I got this pretty
That's
cool
the
box set.
cassettes.
That's all
Yes.
Ace Frehley cassettes.
Oh yeah, I remember that coming out. That's weird.
They
So you
they
got
didn't fool
Anomaly,
they didn't foolishly put the magnet on there like they did the Motley Crue one, did
not
they?
like Motley Crue did, thankfully.
You know, you could tell a millennial
Right.
put that one together.
And then Space Invader. And then you got the yellow tape
Cool. Yeah.
and
Colored
Origins
tapes. I
1.
like that.
And you got the blue tape and Spaceman. And you got the silver
Cool.
and Origins 2. And you get the black tape. And then they give you some guitar picks in a little space
Oh,
box.
cool. It's
It's a space
And it's,
box.
and it's just little silhouettes of Ace with facsimiles of his signature on there.
how cool was it that Ace was so busy in these last like decade? Like, look at all these albums.
Oh yeah.
And like compared to Kiss, like he was the guy that was putting out all this new music, even though it was a lot of covers albums. So he's still and he was working on new shit again right now. He's
Yeah.
the busiest of them all. But he took a while to get back on track after he left Kiss, and there was a big period there where once even Eddie gets him signed, Johnny Z says, "Yeah, Eddie Trunk, if you could find him, get him. We'll get him signed and we'll get some music out and stuff." So Eddie Trunk starts, pretty much brings him back from the dead. But then he disappears again for a long time. Well, he does the Kiss thing, but it takes a while before he gets going. But once he got going again, man, he was really busy and very active and got a lot of shit done. And he didn't seem like he was slowing down anytime soon. He was still
No,
putting
not at
stuff.
all.
He had a good manager too. John Astronomy, however you say his last name. John's
Johnny
big,
Armstrong.
Johnny O. He loved Kiss. He was a Kiss fanatic, and I think he really cared about Ace and wanted to help Ace be productive. Because they would, you get nowadays when you get a record deal for a person like Ace Frehley, basically these labels are going to pay him so much to make an album. They're going to cover all the expenses, and they're going to have him write an album and produce an album for them to release, and they're going to give him a lump sum of money to do it. That's the way they do it now. And I'm sure he's got some publishing deal as well to get for if it's in film or TV or something. I'm sure Johnny O looked out for him. So I think he just stayed productive because that's money coming in all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, smart. And
Very smart.
he's got some good stuff on those records. Like I said, seeing Ace in these later years, I saw him the last time I saw him was 2023, and it was a good show.
Yeah.
But I've seen some shows that weren't good, and like M3 when he played M3 one year, it was just not a good show. But that last show I saw, like I said, it was good. And and before that, I think I saw him open for Alice Cooper, and just like you, James. I thought they smoked the Cooper show that night. It was great. Just
Absolutely.
low. Yeah, I was a little. He does. It's great to hear the Kiss classics. I mean, he's doing a lot of Kiss stuff. But yeah, I always wanted to hear the solo. I want to hear Into the Night and stuff like. He always did Rock Soldiers, but
Yeah.
he would do but most of it would be Kiss. But man, Into the Night. I mean, I know he didn't write that song, but God, I love that song, man. You know, just
He had a really
just
great
a great.
backup band at one point, and then he does like a thing where Gene does a tour with him where Gene's got his band and then Ace has got his band. And then at the end of the tour, for some reason, Ace ends up with Gene's band and like he
Well,
switches
Gene
members
got
and he
Gene took Ace's band on tour. That's what it was. Yep.
I thought Ace ends up firing his band and gets Gene's band after the tour. I thought that's how that went down. I could be wrong, but I just
Oh,
remember
okay.
he
They
had
were
a different band. He had a different band. When I seen him on Space Invader, he had like Richie Scarlett with him, and they were just amazing backup band. They were so solid. Everybody had a ton of energy. Those guys would sing songs that Ace wouldn't sing, like the Paul songs and Gene songs,
hmm
and they were just incredible that night. And then the next two times I seen him, it wasn't the same. It was like I'm not putting the band down, but he just seemed to have a better band, and they had been with him for a while or something, and they were tight as hell. And then he switched
he had
guys for some reason.
he had some guys over the last few years that
Matt
one
Starr
was
was his drummer for a while.
Matt was on drums, yeah, but he had like Philip Souse was his guitarist for a while. Philip has been in Accept in the last few years. He was playing with
Yeah.
Accept. But those guys, Philip and a couple of the other guys, Ryan, I forget what Ryan's last name is. Ryan was in a really cool band called Hair of the Dog back in the like late '90s and all. But those guys, it was three of them. It was Philip and Ryan and I forget the other guy's name, Jason maybe. They did a little tour, and they were calling themselves the Talisman, like the Kiss Talisman, and they were
Mhm.
just doing this tour, this unplugged tour, the three of them, and they played a private party at a friend of mine's house, and went out and they just played like all this cool Kiss stuff. Just they're Nashville guys, man. They're like guys that do session work and play with whoever. I mean, they're just pros. They can learn the stuff and go out and back up whoever within a week. And just great musicians. Yeah, but
And
yeah,
they're
he
the
had a
guys that
tight
were, and
band.
those are the guys that were with him at the end. You're saying?
Yeah, at the
And
very end.
they're the ones that were kind of giving hints when they were like saying, "Hey, we're looking for work. We're available now." When they were supposed to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
scheduled to do stuff with Ace, but that was a
yeah.
sign.
Jeremy Ashbrook, that's the other guy. A really good guitar player, and like I said, Ryan's a really good singer, bass player, guitarist, and all. But yeah, I loved his band Hair of the Dog. They were really good. Yeah, good guys, man.
Someone
And I think Philip is still playing with Accept as well.
someone said something about a yard sale before. I showed this the other night, but I showed it again. Is I was driving by a house and I seen a yard sale. I was driving by and I just this thing, big wooden thing, stood out to me, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And when you see something like this at your yard sale, you go, "Oh, what else might they have?" And when I
Oh,
bought
cool.
it, the woman that I bought it from, she was like, "My husband did not want to get rid of that, and he's very mad that I put this out there." And I was like, "Ooh, that looks old." It's like a big like wooden thing, but with the outfits, you could tell it's like the Dynasty era, so probably from like
Yeah.
1979 or something like that.
Yeah, but that was
I
they
have a
called that the Return of Kiss tour when they
yeah
came back.
yeah.
Yeah,
I have a
you
ton of
got to
Kiss
think,
crap,
man.
like posters and stuff, but I couldn't bring everything out.
You got to think. I mean, that was only a 2 year period, but they went from Love Gun and it was Dynasty was the next album 2 years later. It was like so long between two studio albums, but you got to remember you got Alive, four solo records, double platinum, all in that 2 year
And
period between the
Yeah.
the
two.
first 2 years of Kiss, you get 4 albums. Like they were
Yeah,
doing
Yeah.
2 albums a year back then, which is just
yeah,
insane to think about. But that's how so many. I mean, Sabbath was doing the same thing. They did their first 2 albums in 1 year, and so many bands back then. It was the thing is to pump those albums out. Oh, we got a hit. You can put out another album. Put out another. Now it's um I mean, Kiss had put out 2 albums in 20 years, after Ace, was gone and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Speaking
Yeah.
of 4 albums in 2 years at the beginning of their career, where does this rank in your top live albums of all time?
It's up there. It's a top 5 of all time, I mean that and Kiss Alive too. They're both like, I know everybody prefers this album, but Kiss Alive 2 is my first album ever, and then it's the one side of the album that isn't live. But I put both of them as, you got Unleashed in the East, and you got Live After Death, and you got If You Want Blood, You Got It, and Live and Dangerous, Thin Lizzy. I mean, there's a lot of great ones, but they're definitely to me, at least one of them would have to be a top 5 live album of all time. And those songs are better on those albums than they are on the studio albums. Every one of them. Like, I can't think of every one of them a little bit more energetic and a little bit more raw and hungry sounding. The the recordings on the studio albums are a little bit stiff kind of sound, especially if you're more used to the live ones. If you're used to one over the other, you might think differently, but pretty much I think
Totally.
everybody would say those live albums are the definitive versions of those songs.
So I wonder now,
Alive
though,
too.
in December, because in December it said that the 50th anniversary box set of Alive is going to come with all the nights they recorded for that show, plus the videos that's been
Yeah.
remastered. I
Yeah,
wonder if that
they've
will
got
happen now.
they've got the Dress to Kill that just got announced. The Dress to Kill box set was announced yesterday or day before yesterday. But
It
I
was.
agree with Ralph. Alive 2, I prefer Alive 2 over Alive 1 because that was the one that I got first. And but when I rank the Kiss albums from the 70s, I actually just did it on somebody's post on Facebook. My favorite ranking the Kiss albums with Ace, in other words, and Destroyer's way down at the bottom for me because I had Alive 2 first, and I much prefer Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, God of Thunder, and I much prefer the live versions and the studio versions because to me, Destroyer is just so over polished and just
polished and
overproduced.
restrained. It's got like a restrained. Yeah.
I didn't like Great Expectations, and I mean, Beth is Beth, whatever. But yeah, I've just never been a huge fan of that record. I love the album cover. I think it's the most iconic album cover of the Kiss catalog, but it's the record itself is not one of my favorites. I don't hate it, but it's just not one of my favorites that I go listen to a whole lot. But yeah, the live record is, I mean, they were in my top 20 for sure. I mean, Alive 2's in my top 10. Alive 1's probably in my top 20. I mean, I've got a lot of live albums, like ones Ralph mentioned, and the Unleashed in the East, and Live and Dangerous, Strangers in the Night, stuff like that. It's just rates above them for me. But Alive 2, man, it's just it's so
That's a good
good,
episode we got to do. I don't think we've ever did that as an episode, like our favorite top 10 favorite live albums. That should be an episode.
Yeah, that should be an episode. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you about Destroyer too, man. Like there's times where a customer will come in my store and be flipping through the Kiss section and we'll pull out Destroyer and go, I don't know anything about Kiss, but I know this is a big album. Should I start with this? And I always go, don't start with that one.
Rock and Roll Over is what you need to
start with. Either Rock and Roll Over or Hotter Than Hell is where I would start.
Or Kiss, the first album's good too, man.
I love
the first album's very good. I wouldn't start with that though. I would take Love Gun over the debut.
Really?
Yeah.
Love Gun kind of falls into Destroyer catalog for me. It's a little bit, it's good, but I prefer the live versions of those songs, more than I do the studio. But Rock and Roll Over just sounds live. It's just so meaty and so heavy. I remember listening to that as a kid, going back to those days. I actually thought that's what Kiss looked like, and I drew a lot. So I would draw like those heads exactly like that on these little stick figure bodies, And 'cause I thought they looked like that, I really thought Gene's tongue was forked and it leaped around. But when I would listen to this, like you listen to "I Want You," and you hear, at the very end with the ticka 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 ticka, "I want you," and you hear the pick slides that they're
Yeah.
running through a processor, to duplicate and make them sound huge, and it sounded like jet engines taking off. And I always imagined, I saw a picture of Ace with those shoes on on the first Alive with the holes in the bottom. And I just imagined them having jets in them, and those guys could fly, I mean, these guys were superheroes, man. They were
Yeah.
superheroes, and
Well,
we
and
didn't
the
have
McFarlane
much.
toy, he had like jets and stuff. Then he had like jets and stuff like
Yeah.
on the
I
Yeah, he
mean,
McFarlane
did.
toy. They kind of had it.
Just our childhood imagination just running wild with these guys, because we didn't have much footage to go off of. I mean, they didn't show them on TV, except, I mean, the only time they'd ever been on was the Paul Lynn thing in concert, at Midnight Special. I'd never seen any of that stuff. By the time I got into them, the only time you ever saw Kiss on TV, if it was like like a commercial or a clip about the band or something. When I started collecting the bootleg stuff, I was just blown away at how much Kiss stuff had been filmed and shown on TV. Like all the commercials for the albums, and the little promo videos that they would show. Do you guys remember the show Kids Are People Too? Was a
Yeah.
Saturday morning show, and they introduced Eric Carr on there
Oh,
right after
yeah, I've
Peter
seen
Criss.
that.
And they had a little promo clip they showed of the band doing Sure
Yep.
Know Something and stuff. I was blown away. I saw that when it aired, but collecting the bootlegs years later, it's just so cool to get all that stuff. And of course, most of that stuff has come out on the Kissology DVDs now, so you get good quality footage of that stuff. You know,
When I was a kid, I went to a Kids Are People 2 live event as on my birthday. So one of my friend's parents paid for us to go, and we went to it, and they had like a magic show and stuff. But a weird thing about bringing up like the commercials and stuff is, I don't know if any of you guys seen the Ed Gein series on Netflix, but
Yes.
I don't want to ruin anything. But right at the very last episode, like Ed Gein is alive in like 1984, and one of the last things they show him doing is just watching MTV. And there's a commercial, and it's Kiss in the makeup with Eric Carr,
Yep.
and it's so quick. I should have like rewound it and was like, wait, what the fuck was that? I was like, oh, Kiss is in the fucking Ed Gein shit. And it seemed like an AI made up thing. Like, I don't think it was a real commercial, but it was like a commercial for Kiss, and they were like introducing like their new album at the time or something. It was like just a quick little clip though, but it was like showing like a commercial for them, but pretty weird.
That
And
last
then like
episode.
Ed Gein dies, like, and it's like one of the last things he's seen was Kiss in a
Yeah.
commercial, like, and he dies like right after.
Dude, that last episode is so weird.
The whole thing was kind of weird how
whole
they
thing.
did a lot of filling in the gaps to make it a whole episode series. Like
Yeah.
I read the book, Ed Gein's book about, I think it was actually called Monster. I gotta pull it out, but and I don't remember like the girlfriend. I don't remember like so much stuff, and a lot of it was him like dreaming, and they're just like going, oh, maybe Ed
Right.
did this and did this. Like we know certain things he did. And anyway, we're off topic again, but I just say it did have to do with Kiss really quick though. So the
Yeah, it
last
Yeah,
did.
I remember
episode, you
seeing
see
that.
it
It
go.
was tripping.
So we're
Well,
talking about what you said, Tony. Kissology 4 has been promised in 2011. Hopefully now they'll get it out, because we're going to get that 76 show. We're going to get another from Kobo 77, and there's the Kids Are Alright in 1980 segment. That's going to be on the Kissology 4. There's a lot of things that's going to be on the fourth, because the fourth is going to be the biggest of them all, because they gets bigger each time. But Tommy Toyer and all has like excuses. We've been on tour, so I haven't had the time to do it. Well, now you
Yeah,
guys
but
aren't on
didn't
tour.
they go in order? Didn't they go in chronological order? Like they didn't I
Yeah,
don't think if
they did.
anything, part 4 would be all the last 20 years. It wouldn't be like old
Well,
stuff that they didn't
you got to
release.
think too. Pop House owns everything now, so it could be Pop House hiring somebody to put it all together, and it's like, hey, let's go back into archives and pull some stuff out they didn't release. You know,
And just
I
like a
would
week
hope.
ago, somebody found like this footage that they've been sitting on. It was all like when they played the high school back
Hmm.
in the day when the football team said if they go undefeated, Kiss will come back, and they did
Oh
that big
yeah.
whole thing. Like supposedly, like this footage just appeared. I haven't seen any of it. I don't know if it's like something you could see on YouTube or something, but I just heard that like now there's this like whole show of them playing the high school or some shit that is available or out there, but I don't know how you see it right now. I haven't seen it come up on YouTube yet. I don't know if that's something that's
Wasn't
like
it in the
available to watch.
same thing? Because they have found a lot of footage from the Alive tour that they have been going through. So maybe it's been because it's like something in that tour that it's been in the vaults.
I
Or
think
Yeah, it's like
if that
that.
stuff's gonna come out, I think it's gonna come out how like this Dress to Kill's coming out as a special edition, and there's like supposedly like 2 concerts. And I guess there's like DVDs or whatever. But I think that's how you'll get any old stuff that hasn't come out. I don't think that would be part of like a Kissology series because that was in chronological order as far as I remember. I got 2 of them. I got the first 2 of them.
so
I don't think they're
we are
gonna.
getting Alive now, the box set with all the live shows
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah. So
in
that'll have
December.
all that old footage.
You've got
And
the
then we're getting
Cobo Hall.
Dress to Kill in January.
Dress to Kill's coming soon.
Yeah, I seen the
Before
ad with
Alive.
it with all the stuff that comes with it and
There
stuff. It's
was
like a
it
whole
came an
table full
ad
of
came
shit.
out for it yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah,
or day before
So it comes
yesterday.
out. It will be come out before the Alive box set.
I guess. Yeah.
yeah. Because I haven't
It's gonna
seen
be
Yeah.
anything for
expensive.
that yet.
Oh, I gotta
That
save
Cobo
money.
Hall footage, that Cobo Hall footage is come out and circulated the last few years of the audience, and you see the 2 dudes with the sign that's on the back of the album. You see them,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
see people
Yeah,
that you see in the
you almost think
seats
it's like
around.
AI. Yeah,
Yeah,
you almost think it's like AI because it's like, how did we never see this before? And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, they're
Yeah,
moving. You know
there
how
is.
like they take these pictures and they make a move, with the
mhm.
AI shit.
Yeah, but it's real. It's real footage that was filmed that night. Yeah, it's just,
Because
but
of Kissology, you have like them coming to like the school and they it's just like segments from from news things that they get to the school. They are at the school, they sign
Well,
stuff, and they
that's
leave.
what it is. It's yeah, that footage is on the unedited version of that had been sitting for 40 something for 50
Yeah,
years.
so that's gonna be cool to
You know,
crazy.
watch.
but yeah, they had used little bits of it for that. The person who shot that film for those little bits that you seen had all the
Yeah,
footage all these years, and now just says, "Oh yeah, I got all this shit," and I don't know if
It's
he
nice.
released it
Got it back
or if
here,
it's
James.
coming out.
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
So that's gonna be.
Yeah.
I'm guessing because there's been a lot Kiss now, but I'm a Hotter Than Hell fan, and I'm hoping that we get something from the sessions down in LA from Hotter Than Hell to hear the demos before, because to me, Hotter Than Hell is the best Sun and Kiss album ever because it's so dirty and it's so rock and roll. So I'm hoping to get a box set of Hotter Than Hell, which should have been last year, but either the first album and Hotter Than Hell get a deluxe box. So
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like the
I was
James
thinking about
the remastered
favorite picture.
CD had the CD
Oh, the
cover
mini
opened up
poster.
into the
Yeah.
poster too. Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking of favorite pictures of Kiss, and like my favorite picture of Gene is definitely that Kiss Alive 2 with all the blood. But my favorite picture, I think, is when you open up that gatefold for Kiss Alive 2, that live shot of all of them on the risers and Peter Chris is on the big cat fucking riser and all explosions and stuff. Like I remember thinking as a kid, like this would be the most insane show ever. And it's just like that clip of just all this shit going off of fire and everything all at once. And then
Yeah.
it was like years later, I seen like the Live After Death tour and video for that, and I was thinking, oh, this is the ultimate tour. But in the 70s, I don't think anything could have came close to that
Nope.
one snapshot of that picture of Kiss with all the
yeah,
explosions and
is that
shit.
from
I used
Cobo
to
Hall
stare
or
at
is it
that.
from Texas?
I'm not sure where that picture is from, but
I think that photo was staged somewhere. They just did it
yeah, it
for the
might have been
album
like
cover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
But
wasn't an
that
actual concert photo. That was they were all set up on their stage and they blew off all the pyro
Yeah, all at once. Yeah. And almost
just
like you
to
think it
make
when
a
you're listening to
killer.
that album, you're thinking that this is every song. Every song is,
Yeah,
you know.
they
But yeah, it
just
was
did
probably
that
like
to make a
her.
killer inner album cover.
Yeah, and they're doing the rehearsals for the tour probably like for like a month or two before the show. So they're that one time they just put all the makeup on and said, let's just fucking, get this shot. And that's why I
Yeah.
think it's so incredible. It's like, is this fucking amazing or what? Like I couldn't imagine that as a kid. And I know somebody who had an older brother and his parents took him to that show, and he's the same age as me. And like I don't know if it was exactly that show, but it might have been Dynasty that he called, but he was like, like 9 years old, and he went to go see Kid, and I just was like, what the fuck? Like, who goes to a concert at 9 years old? Like, I just couldn't imagine it, and I almost like didn't believe him when I talked to him years later, but then knowing his brother and stuff, I'm like, yeah, his brother went, he probably begged to go to, and went with the parents, so even though he was 9 years old, he got to see it and shit.
Yeah, now you see kids at shows all the time. It's just a
Oh
Yeah,
normal
yeah.
yeah.
thing. Just imagine if when we were little kids, if our parents had taken us to see the groups that they liked when we were little kids, we've been like going to like Bing Crosby concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
At least for me, Ralph and I, you know.
Yeah.
So was it
Maybe the coolest
76
the
or
coolest thing I
78?
might have caught was Johnny Cash. My parents liked him, but that might have
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
been
pretty
John.
sure you said Johnny
Well, my
Cash.
parents did take me to. My dad actually took me to. We saw when I was a little kid. We saw Porter Wagner, country singer. So
All right.
I was probably 5, 6 years old.
So was it in 77 or late of 76 that Ace started with that fire and smoke from the guitar?
I think he started doing it. You talking about when he started doing it?
Was it late 76 or was it 77?
He's been having spoken guitar since the early days, since the start of the band.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
think
sure he
they
used to put smoke bombs in his guitar in the very
Yeah, he
beginning.
did. They said he used to gum up he had to go in there and clean out the electronics because those bombs would
Yeah.
gum it all up. But then over the years, they developed a different way of doing it. So
back in the
no, yeah,
70s. People used to bring fireworks to the shows. They used to bring M80s to the shows and stuff. I think
Yeah.
someone threw a smoke bomb and it got caught in the strings in the pickup there, and he's like, "Hey, this is a cool idea," and then started hollowing out a spot.
yep, yep,
It was a
yeah, man.
great little thing. It was cool how they all had like their thing, like Gene fucking had the fire breathing and the fucking
Blood.
blood, and then later he flying, and they all had like their thing. And then, even like the later stuff with Tommy Thayer playing him, he was like shooting like shit and shooting out the lights. I didn't go
But
to the
Yeah.
shows, but I remember
Ace
watching him.
did that. Ace did that too. During the reunion tour, he did that. But I
Yeah, he
remember
did.
that I mentioned that "Kids Are People" too show. I remember the interviewer said, "Paul, everybody's got an effect that they do. Why don't you do anything?" He goes, "Cause I'm scared."
Yeah, but then he eventually did that thing where he would swing out into the crowd on the
Oh
road
yeah,
and all that
yeah,
stuff.
I want to
swing
come
all the
out
way
there and
across.
see you.
I'm coming out to you people.
Yeah,
Then they were
uh,
but
guitar laser
he's
shooting
the
off the
ultimate.
guitar.
He's the ultimate ringleader. The
yeah, he
ringmaster.
is.
That is. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he
the
is.
the chem the chemistry of those four guys is just unbelievable, and that it doesn't matter. Like people, I keep hearing all these people talk about how influential Ace was, but how he wasn't like a technical guitar player. It's like, who gives a fuck? He was perfect for that
Yeah.
Yeah.
band, and he was so influential, but it didn't matter, and it shows like that doesn't matter how technical. If anything,
Mm-mm.
bands get worse the better they get as players, because sometimes, I mean, to a point, because they just get too technical, and it just the songs don't have
Yes.
that groove and that soul to it no more. It just becomes this fucking note fucking thing, and it gets boring. And it's like it's better when a band is hungry and they're very creative in the beginning and stuff. Especially once they become superstars, then it's like they're not hungry no more. They don't have that creative energy. They're more about being famous, and that's all they care about, or
You don't
whatever.
have to
And
create music to get something to eat. Get something to eat
Right.
is motivational to write music. But Ace, I
Yes, it
think
is.
I saw an interview with Ace. He's talked about from 73 to 76 before Destroyer, they would all arrive in the same limo. After 76, they all started to come in their separate
oh
limos.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
Unity popped up with Destroyer. Destroyer destroyed Kiss in a way.
yeah.
Well,
There was
I'm sure
nothing bigger.
Bob Ezrin put him through the ringer. You know,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, there's the
Especially
famous
Peter
story.
Chris.
There's the famous story of you know, supposedly we all know Ace didn't play on everything, and
Yes.
there was one of the solos on Destroyer. He said he was sitting in the lobby of the studio, and Dick Wagner, who was the session guy, had played the solo and walked out, and he saw Ace, and Ace said, "How was I?" You know.
Yeah, because
I've
I
also
guess
heard
Ace were
stuff with him saying like he would hear the record and be like, I did I play that? I don't remember playing
Yeah,
that. And it's like, no, you didn't play it, Ace.
yeah.
what
They would have people come in and do
Ace in
stuff when they weren't there.
wasn't Ace in a poker game that he didn't want to interrupt to play that solo?
Yeah, that's what we've
Uh,
heard. Is he was busy
uh,
playing poker instead of being at the fucking recording session.
Well,
yeah.
it's the same reason why we got a black guy playing Ace in Phantom of the
Yeah.
Park movie, because he's like he
Oh,
just couldn't bother showing up that day. He didn't want to put makeup on. He's out drinking
that
in the
was his,
bar around the
and
corner.
that guy was his stunt double. That was his stunt double, and they had to use him in some scenes because Ace wasn't around, so they tried to show him from behind or profile or something. You know, don't get his hands in the picture.
Let's make
So,
it where Ace has to wear white gloves. He only takes
yeah,
them off when he's playing the guitar.
yeah,
Well,
man,
found that
yeah,
interview
just
with Ace too, and he talked about the soul album because apparently Ace was the first guy that wanted to do the solo thing. So he hid his best songs for that soul album that could have been on Love Gun, that
Well,
could have been on
he
the
was
album.
threatening to quit. He was threatening to quit the band, and because he wanted to go solo, and he said, "Well, listen, we'll all do a solo album, and then we'll reconvene." And that's how that ended. The whole thing went down. He was like, he said, you know, instead of losing Ace, let's all do a solo album, and that's why I think Ace had like most in the canon, because he was already thinking about doing a solo album, and everybody else kind of through whatever they got together. Gene got all these outside writers, Paul, everybody got outside writers, and Ace had like a bunch of songs that he was like holding on to for his solo album, I think, you know, and that's why his just completely destroys the rest of the guys, you know.
yeah. You know, the I mentioned the Dress to Kill box set that's coming out. It's coming out really soon. I didn't see the date, but today I was looking on YouTube Music and it tells what the new releases are when I was at work. That's the only place I ever stream music at is work. And I saw they released a single from the box set, burn the demo from the Dress to Kill demos, Gene's demo for Burning Up with Fever, which that song ended up on his solo album, like, you
Yeah.
know, 3 years later. And yeah, so it's that same song. You listen to it, it just didn't have Donna Summer doing backing vocals on it, you know, but
Huh.
it's a very
I
primitive
can't believe
version of
there's
that song.
anything. I can't believe there's anything left after that box set that they did with all the demo stuff and the, you know, Eddie Van
Would
Halen and stuff. It's like,
Oh
how
yeah,
is there
well, you know,
still stuff in that? So this is something that's not on any of that stuff. What you're
it's
saying,
now
this song.
Burning Up with Fever demo is on that box set that they
Okay.
bought, but this sounded different. This was like a different version of it. So maybe he didn't want to repeat, but some I don't know. I actually
Yeah,
got
no,
all
that would
those
make sense.
demos,
That would make
all
sense.
those all those demos that were in that vault. Ralph Vieira sent them to me when he got them. I have them on a hard drive, but I mean, there's stuff on there. I don't know why he even released. It's so bad. But then there's some stuff that's just so bad it's hilarious, and you're glad he released them because you get a good laugh out of them. But yeah, the Van Halen demos, you know, they had issues getting clearance on that due to the Van Halen stuff, you know. But I don't know, man. It's just
That,
it's
that,
so
I'm
much
just
stuff
surprised that
out
there's
there.
anything
about that black
that was
book.
unreleased besides live stuff. I'm surprised there's anything, you know.
You're talking about that black book, right? That we have got 5 CDs in it. Is like a book that also came out of Guitar Case. The
Yeah.
5,000
Well, it was like
first one.
it was like an amp. It was like an amp thing that came out. You know, what was that
No,
called? The
no, it was the Gene Simmons Vault was a
Well, yeah,
vault.
there was the vault, but what was the big box set before that that had all the
Oh, the
demos and
big
stuff?
well, there was a box set that came out with 4 or 5 CDs that came in a guitar case, and then it came in a
Yeah.
box
Yeah.
later, like Obi said. There's some demos on there, but it's not a lot of demos on there.
Well, I remember there was like
you know,
I remember the Wendy L. Williams songs were like the Kiss versions were on that. 'Cause I burned it all from a friend that bought it, but I couldn't afford it
yeah,
at the time.
Legends
So I
Never
remember getting it
Die,
all
and
burned. Yeah, you got
hmm
like those Wendy L. Williams songs that were written for her, but they demoed them as Kiss, but then they gave them to Wendy to play to
and
Yeah.
record.
they've really and they've had deluxe editions of Destroyer and Love Gun that's got bonus material of demos on them. So yeah,
Yeah, like the Destroyer
it's
box
just
set.
like you say, how they keep finding stuff, but that's the music biz. I mean, they keep every couple of years they under somebody's couch they find some unreleased Jimi Hendrix demos and
Well,
put them
I
out.
totally,
So
yeah, like, yeah, and Jimi Hendrix had such a short career, and every 2 years there's a new Jimi Hendrix album. So a band that has played 10,000 shows, you figure there's an endless amount of live stuff. But
hmm
it's like, how many times can you hear Detroit Rock City? Unless they do rare songs in their set every now and then. And Kiss wasn't one of those bands that really like dug deep and went for deep cuts here and there. I mean, each tour had different songs, but you didn't really get much of a mix throughout that tour, where it'd be
yeah,
hard to have like, if you talk about this Kiss Alive and having the 7 albums of the same songs like they did with the Thin Lizzy and so like I don't know. I mean, it's cool to have if you're a mega fan, it's cool to have it, but I'm not going to listen to. Okay, now I'm going to listen to this version from the Thursday night version or the Wednesday night. It's like it's the same fucking thing
I didn't
over
even
and
buy the
over.
Thin Lizzy one.
Yeah, it
It's
was
just
Yeah,
just
what's
too
the
I
much.
got
point?
it.
Yeah. Ovi got it.
So also for Psycho Circus album, Ace wrote like 4 or 5 songs. Only one song made it to the album, and one made it to the Japanese one. So there are 3 songs still from that session that Ace wrote that they just threw
I
aside.
think they.
Which
I would think they. I would
last
think that
song
they
is
would go on
better
to
than the
his
songs
solo.
on it.
I would
Huh?
think they end up. I would think that they would end up on his like solo albums, different recordings on his solo album. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I know
yeah.
he
But I
was
can bet
getting.
you those songs that
He
were
was
left over that they didn't do is better of the few songs that are on Psycho Circus.
if
Goes
they
into the
recorded
void.
them.
It's
If
so
they
good.
actually sat there and recorded them. I don't know if they actually record it with by Kiss.
Yeah, they were
Or were
recorded.
they
Ace
just
was
songs
pissed
that were
off.
rejected and then Ace ended up reusing them for his later albums? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah, they may have not been a final recording album. It could have just been,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
the
are those
demos.
songs
He
But
demoed? Are
pissed
they
him off.
even if
They
they
have
were
fucked him
demoed?
over
That'd
for
be
40 years.
That would be interesting if they were even demoed though, because I don't know. I never heard that. If
well,
they had.
they'll probably come out eventually. If they're in some format, they'll probably eventually put them
I think
out.
the way
But
they worked then, it would have been like Ace would have recorded songs in his studio with other guys and then presented the song. Where I don't think it's like they sat there and recorded as a band, as a demo, and then said, no, we don't like this song. I don't think they would let it even get to that point where they're going to waste their time. Like they probably
Well,
rejected it
Chris didn't
before it
get the
became
songs
like a
either.
Kiss recording.
You gotta remember, Paul and Gene, they prioritized their songs. So Chris and Ace's songs, Chris has a lot of songs too that didn't make it. So it's like it's so unfair how it was. So there's probably a lot of songs that didn't make it on albums that Ace and Chris has some credits on that Gene and Paul didn't want because that
Yeah,
took away space for their songs.
Sure.
sure.
Yeah,
But like
definitely.
like we were saying though, where they recorded with Kiss, they probably were demoed with their own guys and then brought to them and said, nah, we don't want these ones. So then there would be ideas that Ace would use later for his solo albums. But who knows?
Well, Ace didn't do anything from 98, now from 89 to 2009. There's 20 years there of a gap.
You look at that. You look at that last Van Halen album with David Lee Roth. Those songs had been sitting around for like 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of
And
those
then
songs were old.
they came to life. They had recorded them live in concert or bits and pieces, maybe under
Demos.
different names, maybe
Sure.
different lyrics and stuff. But it was like those songs kind of existed for like 30 years. And
Yeah, I've had most
if
of
you're
them.
trying to go for, yeah, I've heard bootlegs with like those songs with different lyrics and
So it'll be
so
interesting
they were
though if
around.
there's like, because there's a 20 years gap there, there must be a lot of demos that Ace just did down in his home studio. So there's got to be a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
probably.
think the main
one
thing that people that are going to want right now, the first thing is going to be whatever he was working on in the studio right now. I'd like to hear a studio report about how far was he into this recording that he was doing at this moment. Like, because if he's actually in the studio, that means he's got demo versions at least of all the songs that were going to be probably. I mean, some bands write the song in the studio, but he probably had like a scratch version of whatever songs weren't completed and that they could maybe use the vocals into it, or maybe they could use parts and piece it together. I mean, I've seen bands piece things together that after someone dies that you never would, they weren't even like formed songs, but they could like Voivod did like a whole album of like Piggy's
wasn't
riffs.
it like the
Yeah, that's right.
Origins album he was doing now? The Origins Volume 3 that was in the studio? That's cover songs.
Yeah, he was in the yeah, he was in the studio though. So that means he probably had recorded multiple versions of demos of those songs and has like vocal tracks for them and has like guitar parts. So it's all a matter of taking the best parts of the demo versions and whatever he had actually completed in the studio versions of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
I haven't heard any kind of. I'm sure we're going to hear soon, though, like how far he was with any of that. So
Oh,
Because
yeah.
one of my favorite songs of Ace Frehley isn't even released. It's from '95. It's called "Take Me to the City," and it's released on a bootleg called "On the Other Side of the Coin."
It's also
I
what's
have a
another oldest?
question. What do you guys think of is his favorite? Is your favorite album that he's done in the last 20 years? Like what album of all these newer studio albums? They seem new, but some of them have been around for a while now. These last 20 years or so albums that Ace has done, what would be like your favorite album, do you think?
Abnormality. I guess.
Yeah.
Anomaly.
Yeah.
Anomaly.
Anomaly, yeah.
Abnormality.
Abnormality.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy the cover albums, man. I enjoy Origins Volume 1 and 2 very much, and I go back to them often. I like the original stuff too, like Spaceman and Space Invader and 10,000 Volts are all very good. But I really like his covers, man.
Yeah.
And I really like hearing him, especially on Origins Volume 1, doing Rock and Roll Hell. That's really cool. And doing like, him singing Cold Gin and him doing Parasite is really killer.
I like that
And
stuff.
It's
You
a
know what I don't like? I don't like the cover songs of songs that are so fucking familiar by whoever originally did it. Like
Sunshine of Your
I
Love.
like to cover songs that I'm not as familiar with. If I'm not as familiar with it, then I like it more. If it's something I heard a million times, it's like it's just too common to do that. But for me it's Anomaly or Space Invader. Those two albums, I listened to them both today and I was like, I haven't put them on in a while and I fucking knew all the words to it. They are like awesome hard rock albums for the 2000s. Like maybe some of my favorite 2000s rock albums. Like there's not like a million hard rock albums that I like. I mean, I love the last Blue, or not the last Blue Oyster Cult, but the one before it, one of my favorites. But there's just only so many like hard rock albums in the 2000s that I really love. But I think both of those are such underrated albums. And like I said earlier, is I think they're better than the last two Kiss albums. Like I can't listen to Monster or fucking Sonic Boom. I've heard I think Tony said good things about them, and I've heard other people say fucking bought those albums day one, and I wanted to like them, and not one song like stuck out to me. Like I'd hear parts that are kind of okay, and some of the
Modern Day
Gene singing
Delilah.
songs.
They sound like 80s kids
I
to me.
don't.
They sound like some, which I like,
I
but
just
I saw them on
I
a
find
Sonic
it
Boom
so
tour.
boring. I find it so boring. I really can't stand those albums. I've listened to them both a few times only, and they just sit in my collection. Never have an urge to go back to them. I put on that Anomaly today and fucking Space Invader, and maybe because I was listening to those albums like crazy leading up to seeing them live around that time, that I really got into them, and I love those albums. But yeah, I think they blow
Do
away
you
the
guys
last
have
Kiss albums.
Abnormality with the Japanese bonus track, the Return of the Space Bear?
I've heard the song
Anomaly,
before.
It's such a good song.
Anomaly, not
Yeah.
abnormality.
I've never Abby Normal.
Abby,
Hey,
I
fucking
listened to a death
Ovi,
metal band called
Yeah.
Abnormality with a woman fronting them, and they're fucking awesome. Brutal, like suffocation death metal band, Abnormality, with a girl singing.
yeah,
Ovi, this
Yeah.
record, Ovi, this record
Yeah.
has the song that you're asking about. It's
Yeah,
a
recorded in
tribute to Ace.
95.
This is called a salute to Ace Frehley Spacewalk, and it's got like
Yeah.
people like Marty Friedman and different guys playing songs. Dimebag
Dimebag.
Darrell and Vinny they do Fractured Mirror, but Take Me to the City is on here by Ace Frehley. That
It's
was the
such a good
bonus track.
song. Take me to
Yeah.
the city.
Good
And what's
song.
that? What's it called? What's it called again? What's
It's
that
called
album
a
called?
Spacewalk, a tribute to Ace Frehley.
Oh, the tribute.
Spacewalk.
All right.
It was on the D-Rock label. Here's another one called Return of the Comets. A bunch of different people doing Ace Frehley songs. But yeah, this one's been like long out of print. I think another label like Shrapnel. I think Shrapnel put it out too. So the
Yeah,
Shrapnel version is probably out.
like that label, yeah. No,
Either
that's
Guys,
Shrapnel-
I gotta
Either
take
one of
I
them.
gotta take off, man, for the night, guys. But this has been great. Good talking about
Absolutely.
Ace.
everything.
Always talking about Ace is
Yeah.
great. Ace will
Absolutely.
Sure.
come forever.
Well, then we're
Hey
just
gotta
gonna
Tony,
try
I
to
say
just
get
want
some
to say
that
stuff.
Tony Dio's got to
that
take off.
I gotta get some stuff done for tomorrow, but I'm gonna sign off. But
Yeah,
see
I
you
I
got to
just want to
guys
take
say
soon.
off
really
too.
quick is I watched Tony Dio's Metal Emporium this week with the Ozzy episode, and man, that was incredible. So you had such fucking cool shit, stuff I've never even seen pictures of and stuff. That was
Thank you. Yeah.
anybody got to check out that Ozzy episode that he did in Metal Emporium. Subscribe to his channel. It's fucking really cool
Great
stuff if you're a metal
channel. It's
collector.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Regular
if
stuff.
you if
Thank
you're
you.
into
I'm
collecting, if you're into collecting, you'll see stuff that you never even knew existed.
yeah. Next week I'm gonna try to film the part 2 to that, where I've got all the bootlegs and Ozzy
Yeah.
related stuff in it as well. I don't have a lot of oddball Sabbath stuff, but I do have some cool compilations and stuff. Just it's kind of cool. Just Ozzy related, so they'll be showing all that in as well.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Thank you.
All right,
Took me
guys.
long enough to do that. It took me long enough to do that one. That one, believe it or not, that episode
Yeah, I
was
was
shot.
right about to ask
Three-
you, why haven't you been putting out episodes? And then all of a sudden, boom, I seen an
shot
episode.
that I shot that thing 3 times. The first time I wasn't happy with it and I just deleted it. The second time I couldn't get it to upload because I had no I do it on my iPhone. Had no memory left on the phone and it would not upload. So when I got a new phone, I tried to upload it from there, from the program, from the app, and it came out flashy. It looked like a strobe light was flashing. I was like, fuck it. I just said, fuck it, started it over. So it took a
My
while.
only criticism,
Third time is a charm.
criticism is to turn that music down that you got playing, because even though I can hear you clearly, it's just like a little distracting. It's a little too loud. Like it should be
Well, it's
lower.
better.
It's cool that it's
Yeah, I'll
there,
get it
but
a little
it's
bit
like,
lower. And,
yeah.
and by the way, some people have asked me, I've already had people ask me who that is. They're like, which Ozzy album is that? Well, I didn't want to get monetized by putting
Yeah.
Ozzy music on there. So there's a band called Hellfuel that sounds just like Ozzy, but they're not
I
very
could
known
tell
at
it
all.
wasn't Ozzy, and I was like wondering that too. Like, but I knew that you weren't actually taking an Ozzy thing. But I was like, because I knew you wouldn't do that because you'd get monetized. But
Yep.
yeah, it's just a little too loud. Turn it down a little, and that's it. But it was a great episode. Such cool
Noted.
shit, man.
Noted. Cool. All right, guys.
They're gonna make a new
Alright.
episode. Too loud for Ralph.
Too loud for Ralph. All right. Yo,
Turn
you
it
guys can
down.
hang out.
Turn it
I'm
down.
out.
All right,
See ya.
Tony Dio. Have a good night. Count Ralphus. Have a good night. Ovi. Have a good night. All of you watching, please like and subscribe to the channel and leave your comments. What are some of your memories of Ace Frehley? Have you seen him live? What are some of your favorite Ace albums, Ace songs, Ace memories? Let us know right down here below us in the comments. Put them right there.
Did you see?
right.
Just at the end there, did you see the tribute that Kirk Winston did? That he talked about Ace.
I did see that.
I seen
yes.
that come up.
Yeah, that was
It
very
was so
cool.
weird because Winston is such a big fire plug, and he broke down at the end there. He broke down.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
hard to watch. He broke down.
Ace was so
completely.
important to so many people. So
Yeah.
important to so many people. Rest in peace, Ace. We love you.
Yeah.
Your music will live on forever, and we'll
That's
catch you
right.
in the galaxy tour and a universe coming near you.
See you in
Yeah.
Jendel, Ace.